right, it's Sebastian Miller with the Boxing Mob for Fight Hub TV, and I'm here with the legendary Jim Lampley. Jim, how are you doing first off?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, obviously, before we talk about why we're here for Tank vs. Roach, I want to get your thoughts on, I would call you a great boxing historian as well, and I want to get your thoughts on the so-called self-proclaimed fight card of the century. What do you rank that fight card? I mean, there was a lot of great fights on that card.
Well, I'm not qualified by background or historical knowledge to tell you that it was the greatest fight card of all time, and usually superlatives like that are a part of a groupthink effort where a lot of people say, somebody says it, somebody else picks it up, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that you can push back very hard on that notion because it was an outstanding lineup of terrific matchups culminating in a tremendous main event in which two fighters who had fought a great fight previously didn't recede from that level, but even went to a higher level. So all credit to Bivol and Beterbiev for culminating that card in the way that we most wanted to see, in a knockdown, drag-out, pick-up type or pick-em type fight where it was very difficult to choose the winner, just as was the case in their first fight.
Absolutely, and obviously, Bivol took the second match, and a lot of people are calling for a trilogy, and it would make for a great trilogy, but there's also David Benavidez, a lot of other names out there. If you were to pick, I mean, maybe as a fan, as, obviously somebody in boxing, what would you like to see next for Dimitri Bivol?
I'd like to see Bivol, Beterbiev, Benavidez all be happy and satisfied with what happens next. The WBC has mandated that Bivol now must fight Benavidez. I think that makes sense. I think that a third fight at this moment with Beterbiev is probably a bridge too far, and they might, in a situation like that, recede from the level of combat and energy that they were able to show and project in this fight. So let's see something slightly different. Let's go to another platform. Benavidez is ready, qualified, great fighter, tremendous talent. I'd like to see Benavidez against Bivol.
Absolutely a fantastic fight regardless of whichever way they go. I mean, but I also want to get your thoughts obviously on Shakur Stevenson. He's going to receive the criticism. He went 9 rounds with an electrician, now a full-time boxer. But what are your thoughts on his performance and him calling out Tank Davis after the fact?
Well, we're talking about
Shakur.
Oh, Shakur. Well, Davis is a great attacker, and Shakur is a great defender. Davis is a highly unusual attacker. Not sure I've ever seen this style before. You may know that CompuBox numbers show he throws 28 punches per round, which is the lowest punch output of any major fighter in the sport, and he has a 94% knockout percentage, which is the highest knockout percentage of any major fighter in the sport. So those are two thoughts that almost can't go together, but they do. And it shows you that he's either employing a new style that hasn't existed before, or he's happened onto something accidentally that makes him extremely difficult to beat. I think there's all the logic in the world behind seeing the great attacker fight the great defender, and that means Tank Davis against Shakur Stevenson. But if he fights Lomachenko, if he fights Teofimo, if he fights Keyshawn Davis, these are great matchups too. And every one of those fights could be entertaining. And some of them might be a lot more entertaining than a fight against Shakur Stevenson, who doesn't exactly build a fight.
Absolutely. Now, before we get your last one about the Saudi, card and all that, I don't believe you have social media, but maybe someone from your team showed you Turki's open invitation. He loves you, that he wants you to call a card for him. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
Well, I don't think I've made any secret since December 8, 2018, that I'm a blow-by-blow person. I have no reason to believe that I could not still do blow-by-blow effectively, and I am certainly willing to listen to any offer from anyone to do blow-by-blow. That's point one. Point two is I very much respect and appreciate what Turki Alalshikh is doing for boxing. He is putting his money where his mouth is in a very big way, and in doing so he's creating major prize fights that might not otherwise take place, and giving the audience a lot of what it wants. So I'm pro Turki Alalshikh. I'm pro Jim Lampley doing blow by blow. Whether those two thoughts come together in the same package, we'll see. I have no reason to say that I know anything at all yet about what the answer to that might be.
Absolutely. Obviously, we look forward to you being back on there, of course, and if that opportunity arises. But now we're here in New York. Lamont Roach, Tank Davis, big fight, highly anticipated. But I want to get your thoughts on something that is kind of consuming the conversation, which is Tank Davis talking about retirement. Is that a cause for concern in your eyes for Tank heading into this fight against what is, yes, a dangerous opponent, but maybe a lesser talked about opponent?
Every great fighter since John L. Sullivan has at some point in the middle or toward the latter stages of his career begun talking about retirement. You're not a great prize fighter if you don't exercise your right at some point to put retirement on the table. This is, I make this point as often as I can to conventional sports people who don't pay that much attention to boxing. This is hard. This is, in many ways, the hardest sport. You go out, you perform, you wait months before you get to go back into the ring and do it again. The greater you are, the longer the distance between fights. And it's, difficult training. It requires, in some ways, monastic discipline. It's just not easy. So I never disagree with or push back against any fighter's right to consider the possibility of walking away and doing other things. Get a chicken farm, buy a parking garage. There are lots of ways in this world to make money that are much easier than being a prize fighter. But on the other hand, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And there's no thrill that will ever, for real fighters, match the thrill of stripping down to half naked with only a pair of trunks on, with sweat and oil gleaming on your chest, and stepping out of the corner into the ring to face off against another man. I dare you to try to find any other thrill that matches that.
100%, and hopefully we still see that thrill with Tank Davis Saturday. I want to get your final thoughts on this fight. I mean, I know you're high on Tank Davis.
Very.
Is that to continue, obviously, Saturday? Do you see him pulling the victory, and how do you see him doing so?
Well, they fought twice as amateurs, and Tank won both of those fights. The professional game, with its rules and procedures, is far more advantageous to Tank than amateur boxing was. Again, as a professional, he's throwing the lowest number of punches of any major fighter in the sport. You don't win amateur fights that way. You have to go in and throw to win amateur fights. So he's in an environment and an arena now that's even better for him than what amateur fighting was, and he beat Lamont Roach twice in the amateurs. Why would you pick against him here? I like Lamont Roach. I think he's a good boxer. Really, really nice person. Truly enjoyed my conversation with him yesterday. I think Tank Davis probably knocks him out.
100%. Well, we appreciate the time, Mr. Lampley, and we want to let all our viewers know as well that the legendary Jim Lampley will be co-hosting the exclusive viewer chat in real time throughout Saturday's Tank Davis Lamont Roach World Title Fight HD live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on ppv.com, where no subscription is required. Thank you, Mr. Lampley.
High five. Brilliant. Thank
Appreciate
you.